Happy New Year! I know the world is ready to leave 2020 in the past, but I did put together a year in review slideshow, so let's take a look at that. Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you enjoy this little look back on Borderview Farms and what 2020 was for us. 2020 started out with a little ski trip for my family, and then we were right back into the shop work. We were getting the combine finished up after the first of the year last year. Also had the Fort Wayne Farm Show, which I don't think is happening this year, unfortunately. But as usual, our winters consist mostly of shop work, getting the tractors, oil changes, filters, and all the same stuff we're doing now. We bring them all through one at a time and do whatever needs to be done. On this tractor, the 8R last year, we ended up putting new front tires on it. And of course, we had the big tractor in the shop. Some of this stuff we've already done for next year. Once the tractors were done, we brought the planters into the shop, went through, cleaned up all of the row units, checking the adjustments on everything, replacing any parts that needed to be replaced. As we were finishing up the maintenance, it was time to do some seed business work and treating beans, delivering seed. Spent a lot of time treating beans before we were ready to go in the spring, but before we knew it, it was the middle or end of April and the ground conditions were better and it was time to start spring field work. So we're working with the field cultivator here, getting ready to plant corn and some soybeans. We like to run that field cultivator on most of our ground before we plant. We started planting on April 23rd this year with some soybeans, planted a couple of days there in April, then we were rained out until the first week of May, when we were able to cover a lot of ground, had great planting conditions the first week of May. It was a little bit cold. We did have a really late frost there, but the ground was dry. Everything was working well. Spring planting, I always tell people spring is a sprint, fall is a marathon, and so we run some long hours, day and night. As we were finishing up planting, or while we were doing it, Dad was keeping the sprayer moving on the wheat and spraying corn and beans pre-emerge. And then came one of our defining weather events of the year. The second week of May, we had over 5.5 inches of rain over a couple of days, and it flooded everything. We had water standing in all of the fields. We had river coming out of its banks. That entire field was underwater there, which caused a lot of drowned out stuff. All of our crops that were off to a great start, all of a sudden we had to go in and replant. We ended up replanting over a third of our corn acres this year, and that really set us back. But it is what it was. So also had to do a little bit of rock picking. We always find a few of those. And then once we got done with the replant, we were into side dressing corn. Here we were side dressing with our Dalton and Hydrus bar, which if you watched all these videos, you know that one gave us a little bit of trouble. And we were fortunate enough to be able to demo John Deere 2510H high-speed anhydrous applicator that did a really nice job, and we liked that. So, and then the weather changed again, and as soon as we were done with side dressing, it was time to start irrigation. That 5.5 inches of rain was about the last stuff we got, and then our crops were getting dry, so we set up our irrigation pipe and started watering the corn when it was still pretty small. But you can see here where the non-irrigated stuff was extremely dry for us. Rolled up. Now we're getting to the 4th of July. Took a little bit of family time again throughout the summer, but that weekend particularly to go to the lake with the boat. And, 4th of July, got to put the flag out. And we had a little get together at my parents', took the boys to go look at some corn. They enjoyed that. This was also about the time of the year when I dissected a corn plant, sort of took it apart to show the whole structure of that plant. And then shortly after that, it was time for wheat harvest. So we had about 475 acres of wheat this year. We're working on harvesting that. We had a little bit of time with Rylan, my son. He enjoys doing that. Our wheat was decent this year. We didn't have record yields by any means, but it wasn't terrible. So we'll consider ourselves fortunate with our wheat crop. After wheat, it's time for some maintenance and land improvements. We installed a lot of drainage tile this year, did a lot of mowing. And then as we got towards the end of July, time to break the sprayer out again and get ready to spray fungicide on soybeans, which is what I was doing here. This was the
first year that I did sort of the majority of the summer spraying. My dad usually does that earlier in the year, but I did the beans, the fungicide. And then as our corn was starting to pollinate, end of July, 1st of August, we sprayed some fungicide on the corn. Hired a neighbor who has a high clearance sprayer because ours can't do that. He did a lot of it from the ground, but we also had an airplane come into our irrigated field, and I just think this is a really cool picture. Of course, we were still watering corn throughout this whole time. Put almost 5 inches of water across the entire field for the 140 acres of it that we could irrigate. We pumped water continuously for a long time, ran it 24 hours a day, trying to water as much as we can and keep up as best we could. We still couldn't pump enough water, but it paid off in the end. We had really nice development on the corn, had really nice ears up there, and it was a good crop. Towards the end of August, we started working our wheat stubble down with our ripper, and then we were getting it ready. Well, we had some chicken litter spread before we worked it in with that ripper, but we were getting ready to spread our cover crops. We planted an oats and radish cover crop mix. I used this spreader cart to do it. We dumped the seed right in there from our bulk boxes, and then after we spread it, we came back with our disc or our field cultivator, big tractor, and worked it in and had a really nice cover crop stand. I didn't give very many pictures of this, but had a good adventurous day when Dad got the big tractor stuck hauling muck, and then another good video when I got to go to a John Deere field day where they had an 8RX and the X9 combine. Probably two of my top 5 videos from the year were back to back there. Then we're up to Labor Day, some cousin time for my boys. Got a new sandbox from Grandpa, and then I got to dig out a new project. This is my grandpa's Farmall F12. It hasn't seen the light of day in years before this, so we're going to work on that throughout the next year here. Then after Labor Day, it was time to get ready for fall, treating wheat, getting ready to plant wheat. We were finally done irrigating, so we got to pick up all of the 6-inch aluminum irrigation pipe and get the equipment brought out of the field. And it was also time to get the combine ready to go for wheat harvest, which most of that was just on the draper head. And on about September 19th, 20th, somewhere in there, we got started combining beans, which was fairly early. Our bean crop ended up being pretty surprising. We were super dry all summer, especially in August, and so I was not expecting great soybean yields. And our soybeans ended up being better than I expected. By a fair amount, we had a pretty good crop. Got some really nice pictures from soybean harvest here. Got some pictures at night. Combine ran fairly well. We did have a few issues here and there, and stuff like this next one here where we had a bearing go out and we had to fix that. Then we got into corn harvest. We had some corn that was down and not very good at our farm in Berkey, but the stuff around our main farm in Waldron was okay. It wasn't as good as the soybeans were, but it was about what we were expecting. It was wet with all the replant corn mixed into it, so we had to use our dryer a lot. Also got to try out our new lights that we put on a wet bin. They worked out really well. So after harvest, we got back into our winter maintenance mode. Started taking all the shields off the combine, going through it, and inspecting to see what we could find that was wrong. And of course, we spent a lot of time cleaning, power washer with everything. Made a few repairs where we needed to. Also had a big project with our corn head where we completely disassembled it, cleaned everything up, painted it, put it all back together. And we were still cleaning the combine, got the foam cannon out, washed it up. After the combine got out of the shop, we brought a couple of tractors through, worked on those. We did make one major equipment purchase in 2020, decided to replace our old anhydrous bar and bought one of the John Deere bars like we demoed. Overall, it turned out to be a decent year, and just wanted to say thank you guys for watching and tagging along, and certainly thankful for my family and the time that I get to spend with them and the tractors.
Well, we certainly had our fair share of challenges here in 2020, just like the rest of the world dealing with the COVID and everything else. The weather, the drought, and the floods, both that we had this summer, were certainly our defining events throughout the year that impacted us more than anything. Grain prices weren't very good when we started the year, but certainly have come a long ways and gotten better here this fall. So we made enough money to do it again next year. That's kind of our little saying or theory around the ag world is you do well enough to try again next year. So we are going to try again next year. I hope you guys will join me for the journey. Thank you so much for watching these videos. I really do appreciate it and this platform. And I'm blown away every day at how much response I get and doing almost daily videos. So thank you guys. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. And I hope you enjoy what's coming for 2021. Who knows? There'll be some surprises and things that I have no idea that are coming, but we'll deal with it. I am super excited about this house project that my wife and I have started. So that'll be something unique and different for 21 for my videos, and hope you guys enjoy it. So until next week, and the next video of shop maintenance stuff, we're going to get some new tractors and stuff in the shop and keep working on all of that and keep going through our winter season here. Hope you guys will come back Tuesday morning for the next video. Thanks for watching. Happy New Year.